Chapter 47, Accidents. I led the way to Perceptor's office and knocked on the door. It opened. Oh, hello, Cable Reach said. What's wrong? I looked at Ratchet to explain. I don't know why we're here. Ratchet thought. You didn't tell me what's wrong or what that guard was lying about. I sighed and looked back at Cable Reach. Searchlight got arrested. Cable Reach's optic ridges shot up. What? What? Ratchet echoed. Oh dear, Perceptor said. What happened? Cable Reach demanded. I looked at Ratchet again. Well, they let us sit in on a council session, Ratchet said. And we were listening and Searchlight got up and started arguing with one of the senators. Which senator? Perceptor asked. I don't know, Ratchet snapped. But he got thrown out, or we thought he did, until we went and asked one of the guards, should we be talking about this around a mech, who doesn't know about your abilities? The guard lied, I said. He told us they threw him out, but they arrested him, Cable Reach said. Secretly. Primus, you can't take that mechling anywhere without him trying to get himself killed. That does not bode well, Perceptor put in quietly. This could be very bad, depending on who the student was arguing with. Are you sure you can't remember the senator's designation? That makes a significant difference. What did this student say to get himself thrown out? Shockwave would know, I said. He had been thinking about it. And I think the senator's designation was Ritbat. Cable Reach looked to Perceptor, who had frozen at hearing the designation. Well, they had better hurry and do something. This is even more serious. Ritbat is easily offended and quite influential. I suggest you go and make sure that student is all right, Cable Reach, he said. This very moment. Cable Reach nodded. Come on, let's go. We left the room. Ratchet, you witnessed what happened, right? Cable Reach asked. Yes, Ratchet said. What did that other mech mean when he said we'd better go make sure Searchlight is all right? He meant the senator is dangerous, Cable Reach said. What sort of an argument was this? What exactly did they say? To be honest, I was so shocked that Searchlight was actually arguing with a member of the High Council. That's okay, Cable Reach said. You said Shockwave was there too. Where is he now? I think I know, I said and led the way. We found Wheeljack and Shockwave with their ground bridge talking to a professor about it. Wheeljack saw us coming and noticed the look on Cable Reach's faceplate. Hey, he said, when we got there. Excuse me, Cable Reach said. I need to borrow these two for a moment. The other mech nodded, and Shockwave and Wheeljack followed us a few paces away. What's wrong? Wheeljack asked. Is Searchlight all right? Shockwave, Cable Reach said. Can you remember what Searchlight said to that senator? And what was his designation? It was Ritbat, Shockwave said, then started recounting the argument. Cable Reach was more and more worried as he listened to Shockwave's description of the conversation. It hadn't been just a shouting match. Searchlight had stayed relatively calm and reasonable as the senator had gotten angrier and angrier, and Searchlight had been quite obviously winning the debate when the guards had come in to drag him away. Silence fell when Shockwave was finished. Is Searchlight all right? Wheeljack asked again. Yes, we just can't find him. Thank you very much, you can go back to your ground bridge. I don't think he's telling the truth, Shockwave frowned at him. But why wouldn't Searchlight be all right? Would the senator have done something to him? Cable Reach walked away, and Ratchet and I followed him, leaving the other two standing there, worried. Do you know where they took him? Cable Reach asked. Were they going to keep him at the council hall, or were they sending him to a detention center? I don't know, I said. I think they did take him somewhere else. We should have talked to that guard for longer. I had only gotten a few snippets of useful information. How serious is this? Ratchet asked. I don't know, Cable Reach took a deep vent and put a hand to his faceplate. But I don't like that they arrested him secretly. That doesn't bode well at all, he might not even be in a normal detention center. I don't know what to do, he's probably alright, but then again, they lied about arresting him, we need to find out where he is, but then what do we do? I'm a secondary school teacher. I have no authority for anything here. So what do we do? Ratchet asked. Well, for the most part, we just need to find out where he is and make sure he's alright. Let's get to that point and then figure it out from there. I don't think they have any real grounds to keep him in custody, so theoretically it shouldn't be hard to get him released. This might be the end of his career, though. But how do we find out where he is? That part becomes a lot more possible with Soundwave here. We just need to find someone who knows and trigger a thought about it. Well, the last place we know he was is the council hall. Let's try talking to that guard again. Cable Reach led the way to the council hall. He walked up to the front desk and inquired about the incident. The femme there recognized us, and after a few breams of trying to convince Cable Reach they couldn't help him anymore, she reluctantly came at the head of security again to ask him if he could send the guard back to answer some more questions. He didn't speak while she was explaining the situation, and then there was silence afterward for a few Ostroskins. Sir? She asked nervously. I'm sorry, I tried to get them to go away, but... Send them to my office. All right, sir. He cut the comm. That was somewhat ominous. The commander of the guard will talk to you in his office, she said, then pulled out a datapad. I'll show you where it is on a map of the building. That's even better, Cable Reach thought. He'll almost certainly know where they sent Searchlight. I wasn't so sure about this. The secretary was a little frightened of this mech, and I wasn't sure I wanted to meet him, but if it helped us find Searchlight. Cable Reach studied the map, and then led the way. A few mecha looked at us and wondered if we knew where we were going, and if we were supposed to be here. Cable Reach tried hard to look like he knew what he was doing. We got to the office we were looking for, and Cable Reach pressed the entry request button. The door slid open, and we filed in. It was rather barren compared to the rest of the council hall, and immaculately neat. The mech sitting behind the desk looked up and waved for us to come in. I wonder if I can explain the situation to them in some way that doesn't. No, I must protect the interests of the council, even though that mechling shouldn't have been arrested. Sir, Cable Reach said. We're sorry to bother you, but we're looking for a student who was touring here earlier. As far as we know, a few of your guards were the last mecha to see him. I looked into the issue, they arrested him? It was poorly done, his disappearance makes them look suspicious. But that could be for the best. If the right mecha found out, this would resolve itself without anyone getting hurt. They last saw him heading away from the south side of the council hall. If you can't find him or contact him, I would suggest requesting the aid of enforcement. You have no idea where he could be. He's in the Eocon City 3rd Detention Center. I can't know, we don't know. And I'm afraid we can't utilize our resources to assist you in finding him. At least he wanted to help. Soundwave, once you know where he is, fold your arms to let me know, and I'll pull out. I don't know how long I can keep this up, Cable Reach thought. Are you certain he went that way? Could I talk to a guard who saw him? I discreetly folded my arms. The mech shook his helm, feeling guilty. They would only tell you what they told me. Which is a lie. Cable Reach took a deep vent. All right, he said. That's all right then. Thank you for your time. The mech nodded, and then watched us walk out the door, wishing he could tell us where Searchlight had gone, but forcing himself to wait until it was too late. I waited until we were outside to send Cable Reach a comm. He's in a detention center. Eocon 3rd Detention Center. Cable Reach let out a relieved sigh. It could be worse. It was weird, though. I think that mech wanted to help us, but he couldn't. He seemed to think that, if we talked to the right mecha, we could fix this. Cable Reach nodded. Well, we'll have to talk to the right mecha then. Excuse me, I need to calm someone. I ended our conversation so he could calm Perceptor. Percy. Perceptor answered promptly. Yes. Did you find that student? Is he all right? We found out where he is. He's in a detention center. By chance, do you know how to go about legally getting someone out of a detention center? You know, actually, I do, Perceptor said. But I think it would be better if you brought the headmaster of your school. Does he even know? No, I haven't talked to him, but it'll be hard to explain to him how he knew Searchlight was arrested. I'll have to think about this. Give me a bream. All right, Perceptor said. Let me know when you need my help again. Cable Reach found a bench and sat down to think for a bream or so. Okay, he said at length. Here's what we're going to do. I will talk to Grey Charter about this, and we will deal with it. You two can go back to the academy and either tour somewhere else, or just. You think we're going to be able to just go on a tour? Ratchet demanded. When Searchlight's in jail. Or you could go talk to Perceptor some more, Cable Reach said. I want to come, I said. I can help. No, bringing students, Grey Charter wouldn't understand why you were there. Besides, I don't know if I want to bring you into an enforcement station or a detention center, and now that we know where he is, we don't need your help. I looked down. We'll sort this out, Cable Reach said. Now, I've got to find Grey Charter. I'll come. You and we have news. He left us standing there. Well, now what? Ratchet said. I shrugged. I didn't really feel like doing anything other than helping Cable Reach find Searchlight, but I followed Ratchet back toward the academy. We stood as Perceptor and Cable Reach approached. It had been Jors. We'd started to worry that we wouldn't have news by the time we were supposed to go back to Collis. When they came into my range, though, I knew they hadn't made much headway. Well, Ratchet demanded. We confirmed where he is, Cable Reach said. After Jors of waiting around to talk to Mecha who just told us we needed to go talk to someone else, ugh, I am so tired of this. I hope Searchlight appreciates all the effort the rest of us have to go through when he gets himself into trouble. That's about it. And it's almost time to go back to Collis. There's nothing more we can do this Orn. Next Orn, we should be able to visit him, though, and work on getting him out, hopefully before finals. We'd better get him out before finals, Ratchet said. The thought of anyone missing final exams made him anxious. Are you sure we can't talk to Hayam now? I asked. Cable Reach might not be particularly worried about him anymore, but we hadn't actually made sure he was all right yet. Cable Reach hadn't been in that guard's helm, and he couldn't hear Perceptor trying very hard not to think about what sometimes happened to Mecha when the government made them disappear. They said we can't visit him until next Orn. If you were to come here early, but you'd miss school. As if I cared about missing school. I could stay here. Stay here. Over the off-cycle. No, Soundwave. It's not like Crescent would care. You don't have anywhere to stay. He could stay at my house, Perceptor said, then smiled slightly when Cable Reach shot him an incredulous look. I don't mean to be a rule breaker, but in all honesty I think visiting this other student as soon as possible is the best course of action. I'll come back before classes are over, I said. I have enough credit for a mass transit ticket. If I go really early. Cable Reach sighed. Searchlight did this too when Soundwave was sick. I doubt I'll be able to talk him out of it, and he is an adult. Fine, he said. I'll let Grey Charter know why you're staying. I'm sorry about this whole thing. I feel like I should have been able to prevent it. I forgot how much supervision Searchlight needs if I'd waited to introduce you to Percy until later. I shook my helm. It certainly wasn't Cable Reach's fault. Well, I'm going back, Ratchet said, feeling sick with worry. Someone's got to tell Breeze about this mess. I can't believe this. Let me know as soon as you talk to him, Soundwave, and hit him over the helm with something for me, all right? Sure. Thanks. Let me know too, Cable Reach said. Searchlight might have some insights that will help us fix this. I nodded. A few breams later, the headmaster sent out a comm to all of us telling us it was time to go, and Ratchet and Cable Reach left me there with Perceptor. Thank you, I said quietly. Nonsense, Perceptor said. It's no trouble at all. Come, I'm done for the Orn, let's go to my house. I followed him, walking across campus again. We were almost to the other end of it when a light from the sun dome suddenly blinked out, leaving us in dimness. Since the city was on the North Pole, the sun just circled the horizon all Orn, and you could only see it if you were high enough above the rest of the tall buildings. The sun dome, which hovered high up in the sky, caught some of the light and reflected it down during the on-cycle, but in the off-cycle, the city rested in perpetual twilight. We got to Perceptor's house a few breams later. It was remarkably large for one mech. He invited me into his front room, and we talked for several jors about my abilities and about science in general. He was mostly doing it out of politeness and to try to keep my processor off of Searchlight's predicament, but I appreciated it all the same. The next Orn, I got up before the sun dome turned on and left Perceptor's house. He was still recharging then. I remembered the way to the detention center from Cable Reach's thoughts, and got there just a few breams after visiting Jor started. There was a femme at the desk, who neither looked nor felt particularly friendly. What can I help you with? She asked. I'm here to visit someone. Who? What's their designation? Searchlight, I said. She pulled up some files on her datapad and skimmed through them. She found Searchlight's designation listed with his cell number and security risk level. All right, she said. Through that door. She pointed behind herself. Someone will come for you in a few breams. What's your designation? Soundwave, I said. She nodded, made a note of it, and gestured for me to go through the door. It led into a sparse waiting room with benches and blank walls. I sat for what seemed like jors, but was really only 3 breams before a bulky mech opened a door on the other side of the room. He looked at me. Soundwave? I nodded. Come on. I got up and crossed the room, then followed him. I had been so tempted to expand my range to try to find Searchlight's mind, but I had decided against it. Not in a prison, that was a really bad idea. The guard led me to another room, this one partitioned in the middle by an energy field. Wait here. There were a couple of chairs on either side of the field. I sat in one, waiting nervously. After half a bream, Searchlight came into my range, and then the door on the other half of the room opened, and he and the guard came in. I stood and he stopped for a moment, staring at me. He was wearing stasis cuffs, and I could see and feel that he'd been hurt. A wave of relief washed through his emotional core, and he crossed the room to stand right on the other side of the energy field. You have 2 breams, the guard said. Unless I hear something I don't like. Searchlight smiled wryly at that. Of course. Good thing we don't have to say everything verbally. Wave, you found me. I'm so glad you found me. Hey, mech, he said. Are you alright? I asked, though he obviously wasn't. He had a couple of deep painful dents and they hadn't given him any energon. Sure, Searchlight said. They're going to kill me. That glitch senator showed up last turn after they locked me up and he told me they were going to get rid of me. We're going to get you out. Okay, Searchlight said. Thanks. You'd better hurry, though. I don't know how long it's going to be, but he seemed really serious. Thanks. I wasn't sure what to say. He was still smiling slightly, but I didn't think I'd ever seen him more afraid. So did you come by yourself? He asked. We have to keep talking. Yeah. We found out why you'd gone, but they wouldn't let us visit La ASD Orn. Oh, Searchlight said, feeling a little disappointed. Too bad. That's okay, though. And watch that stutter, mech. Calm down a little. Okay, well, tell Breeze I love her next time you see her. It's probably better she didn't come down here and see me like this. Primus, if she showed up, I'd probably break down and start crying like a sparkling. Oh, Primus, they're really going to kill me, and he took a few deep vents to calm himself. And tell Ratchet he's got the best aim with a wrench I've ever seen. He ought to get a good exasperated huff or optic roll out of that. He might even demonstrate said skill by throwing that thing at you. I felt like my spark chamber was shrinking and twisting. We're going to get you out of here, I promised him again. I know you are, he said with a smile that was a little more real. Of course you are. So, you talked to that teacher, right? Cable Reach's friend. Are you going to trust him? Yes. Good. It'll be good to know at least one teacher already before you get into the academy. I don't know if I have anything else you need to know. The senator's designation is Ritbat. He's a real fragging glitch. And yeah, I think he was serious when he told me they were going to execute me for treason. Oh, Soundwave, I can't tell you how good it is to see you here. I didn't think I was going to get to talk to you again. If this goes badly, tell Breeze and my creators that I'm sorry. I nodded. He let out a little, shaky laugh. What to say, you think this'll mess up my career? Probably, I said. Primus, I'm an idiot, aren't I? Definitely. I'm so sorry for all this trouble. I know it's my own fault. I just couldn't keep my lip plate shut. It'll be fine, I said. We'll figure something out. Searchlight nodded. Thanks, he said again. If anyone can get me out of this mess, it's you. I looked down. In any case, Searchlight said. Tell Ratchet I'm sorry too, and thank him for putting up with all my slag. You can do it yourself once you're out of here. Searchlight nodded. Yeah. Sorry if I sound kind of, it's just been awful down here. I feel like I've been here forever, and it's only been, not even an orn. I just want to make sure, Wave, if I don't come out of this, that you tell them, I'm sorry. Tell them I'm so sorry, and that I need them to be happy and keep going, and Primus, I don't know what I'd want you to tell Breeze. Not much longer, I promised. Don't worry. The guard checked his chronometer. We still had half a bream. Time's up, he said, and glared at me, daring me to contradict him. Can you find your way out? I nodded. The guard pulled Searchlight roughly away from the energy field and shoved him toward the door. Hey, Wave, Searchlight called over his shoulder. Good luck with getting into the academy and everything. Don't worry, Mech, I know you can get me out of here. They left the room, but I could still hear him. I know you can do that, or anything else you. And then he was out of range. As soon as I was out of the prison, I sprinted away across the city, back to Perceptor's house. He wasn't there, so I went to his office, but he wasn't there either. I walked back outside and come at Cable Reach. The sun dome was on now, but classes wouldn't have started quite yet. My teacher answered quickly. Yes. Did you get in to talk to him? Yeah, I said. He's in trouble. He said. I trailed off. What? He said he thinks they're going to kill him. He said the senator came back and threatened him. Cable Reach was silent for a few Ostroskins. Okay, he said eventually. Stay calm. It's probably not that bad. He seems certain. More silence. Okay, I will take the Orn off and be there in half a jour. Are you with Perceptor? I can't find him. I'll give you his comm. Code, Cable Reach said. He might have some idea what to do about this. I can't believe this. He sent the code, and I come at Perceptor. The professor didn't answer, so I tried again. He probably didn't recognize my code. I stood just outside the building his office was in and tried a third time. Finally, he answered. Yes. I'm very busy at the moment. Perceptor, this is Soundwave, I said. I talked to my friend and he said they're going to execute him for treason and Cable Reach gave me your codes and said to contact you. We need to do something now or... Slow down, Perceptor said. Calm down. You're right, this is not good at all. Give me a bream, I can't leave what I'm doing right now, and there's not much I could do anyway. I took a deep vent and looked down at the ground while the silence stretched out for Ostroskins. If his life is really in danger, then we don't have time to jump through the legal hoops, Perceptor said. I can only think of one thing. You need to find Alpha Trion and explain the situation to him. He can get your friend out of jail. Alpha Trion, that mech from the Orn before the one whose processor I couldn't read. He was the last mech on the planet I wanted to explain anything to. I don't know where he is, but the Hall of Records is a good bet. I'll meet you there as soon as I can. Okay, I said and Perceptor cut the comm. The thought of hunting Alpha Trion down and asking him to help made me feel physically ill, but I could not put this off. I transformed and flew across campus into the Hall of Records. I wasn't really sure where I could find Alpha Trion because the building was enormous, but if he was in charge, someone would know where his office was. I landed on the front steps and walked in. I found a desk behind which one of the curators of the library sat. He looked up as I approached. Can I help you with anything, young mech? He asked. I need to talk to Alpha Trion. Do you know where he might be? The mech shook his helm. I'm sure one of the clerks can help you find anything you need. No, I said. I have to talk to Alpha Trion. One of the professors at the academy, Perceptor, sent me with a message for him. Which was essentially true. The curator wasn't sure whether or not to believe me. Well, he said, I don't know where he is any more than you do. He may not even be here. I could direct this mech to his office, but I don't think Alpha Trion would like that very much. I sighed. What was the message? I can pass it on. Never mind, I said and walked away. But I knew where the mech's office was. The archives were a maze, and I got lost and turned around so many times I nearly gave up. I finally found the office, though. I couldn't hear anyone in there, but I realized that didn't necessarily mean he was gone. I requested entry. And waited. Nothing. I tried again. The mech in the next office overheard the chime faintly through the wall and looked up from his work. Is that from Alpha Trion's office? Is someone looking for him? I stepped back from the door as the next one over opened, and the mech came out into the hallway. Hello, he said, studying me with bright, blue optics. Can I help you with something? If you're looking for Alpha Trion, he just left 10 breams ago. I looked down. Were you looking for him? The mech was honestly concerned. Maybe I can help, I'm his assistant. I nodded. Do you know where he went? He didn't tell me. I needed to talk to him. Perceptor sent me. It's urgent. An urgent message, okay, I can calm him for you. What is this about? He seems upset. Are you all right? I shook my helm. Never mind, I said. I had been gathering the resolve to tell Alpha Trion about the situation. I didn't want to explain it to this overly helpful, self-satisfied librarian. I will calm Alpha Trion, the mech said. You can sit in my office to wait. He might take a while to respond, though he usually answers me. I followed the mech into his office and sat down by the side of the room. Cable reach come at me, and I put a finger to my helm and answered. Are you here? Yes, I'm in Iacon. Where are you? The Hall of Records. Perceptor sent me to find Alpha Trion, but he's not here. Alpha Trion. I didn't even think of that, but yes, he'd definitely be able to get Searchlight out. Okay, I'll calm Perceptor and then maybe meet you in the Hall of Records in 10 to 15 breams. Okay, I said. Hang in there. This is going to work out. Cable reach cut the comm. Alpha Trion's assistant sent him an internal comm, explaining that Perceptor had sent someone with an urgent message for him and then turned his attention back to me. I understand if you can't tell me what Perceptor sent you for, but it might help for me to know. I didn't respond. I wasn't sure I wanted to hear his reaction. He'd probably be very sympathetic and concerned, but those emotions never did anyone any good, and right now Searchlight was sitting in a cell somewhere, aching from untreated injuries, and waiting for them to come and carry out Ratbat's death sentence. What's your designation? It's hard to tell anything about him since I can't see his faceplate. I guess he could be a drone. Look, I said. A friendo of mine is in danger. I'm not in the mood to talk. The mech stared for a moment, then looked away. I apologize, he said. I'll keep trying to reach Alpha Trion for you. Thank you. By the time Perceptor and Cable Reach had shown up, Alpha Trion still hadn't answered his comm. Perceptor explained the situation to Alpha Trion's assistant, while Cable Reach asked me for more details about my conversation with Searchlight. And then finally Alpha Trion's assistant got a comm. He's answering, the mech said, and put a hand to his helm and activating his external comm. Thank you. I sincerely hope this is important, Orion. I had to leave a council session. I've told you they get up to mischief when I'm not there. The assistant explained the situation briefly. The rest of us sat in silence, waiting. After he was finished, I heard Alpha Trion sigh. I saw that argument last Orn, and I suppose I should have been more concerned. Well, the meeting just started and Ratbat's in the council hall right now. If he was offended enough to threaten to kill this mechling, he probably wants to be present for the execution. We have some time to sort this out. Iacon 3rd Detention Center, did you say? Yes, Alpha Trion's assistant said. All right. You can stay there. I don't want you involved in something like this. Tell Perceptor and whoever else to meet me at the detention center. Okay. Thank you. Alpha Trion cut the comm. His assistant smiled at us. He says you can meet him at the detention center. He'll get your friend out. Cable Reach let out a deep sigh of relief. Thank Primus. Let's go. We got there just half a bream before Alpha Trion did. Again, it felt strange to have a mech in my range who I couldn't hear. Good Orn, he said. Come, let's resolve this. I need to get back to the council hall. He led the way inside and up to the front desk. Anything I can help you with, sir? Another senator, just like earlier. I don't know what's going on and I probably don't want to. I have a form here for the release of a prisoner. Alpha Trion handed the Fem a datapad. If you could process that within the next 5 breams, I'd be very appreciative. Yes, sir, the Fem said and started pulling things up on her computer. Would you like to wait here, or? How about we take some guards and go fetch that prisoner, Alpha Trion said. Of course, the Fem sent a quick comm. And a couple of guards came in. Alpha Trion gave them instructions and they started leading us through the prison. Brushing minds with the prisoners in the cells we walked past was not pleasant, but I focused on the fact that we were going to go get Searchlight out of here. This was finally going to be over. Finally. Breeze and Ratchet were never going to let him live this down. The guards knew when we were getting close to his cell. I waited anxiously for my range to reach his processor, but it didn't. There was no one in that cell. We reached the door and stopped. The guards were baffled. He's supposed to be in this one of them said, checking a datapad. Searchlight. Public disturbance and treason. Treason. Alpha Trion asked, one optic ridge raised. Really? He's supposed to be here. Hang on, the guard commented superior. One of the prisoners isn't in his cell. It's cell number Delta 81. I'll check the log. Yeah, it looks like the prisoner in that cell was taken out for execution a little less than a hour ago. I froze. Oh, the guard said. No. What? Alpha Trion asked. The guard said. Can you double check that? That's what the log says. Well, I'm supposed to release him. There's a high council mech here. Well, it looks like he was executed by order of the council. Pretty serious stuff. All the files check out too. Treason, that sort of thing. No. Okay, the guard said. Alpha Trion, sir, I'm afraid this prisoner's already been released, Cable Reach said, daring to hope. No, the guard said. Executed. Dead silence. What? Cable Reach said. That can't be. I'm sure we can get you the relevant files and confirmation, the guard said. I'm going to lose my job. Fraggot, it's not my fault this happened, I'm just a guard. I would like that, Alpha Trion said coldly. Very much. That can't be right, Cable Reach said. He's just a student, there's no way, just. Cable Reach, Perceptor put a hand on his shoulder. Don't make a scene. Cable Reach looked down. No. I am so sorry, the guard said. If there was some sort of mix-up. I doubt that, Alpha Trion said. Now, would you mind showing us the way out? Of course. No. This couldn't be happening. I can't believe this. I can't believe it, I can't believe it, this has to be a mistake, they can't have already. Primus, Soundwave. Cable Reach looked in my direction and I turned away from him slightly. I wished he'd just stop thinking. This couldn't be real. I just talked to him, a drawer and a half ago. That meant. It couldn't have been much more than 20 breams between our conversation and when they'd come for him. My processor put the pieces together for me. By the time I'd finally gotten to talk to Perceptor, it had already been too late. Alpha Trion had left to go sit on the council just before I got to the Hall of Records. Ritbat must have been here before that. If I had been faster, if I'd done something faster. We walked back the way we'd come. I didn't want to leave yet. There had to be something we could do. Maybe it wasn't too late. A whole drawer ago. Yes, that was too late. I felt cold. Are you sure? Cable Reach said once we'd reached the front desk again. Are you absolutely sure of this? That he wasn't just, I don't know, moved to another cell. We can go check the records. The femme there said. I'm sorry, I saw it about half a bream after you walked away, I should have come. Searchlight had told me they were going to kill him. He had told me to hurry. I had tried, but I hadn't been fast enough. I followed them out of the building, listening as Perceptor and Cable Reach acknowledged within themselves that this had happened. That we were too late. That Searchlight had been executed just for standing up in a council meeting and speaking his mind. Alpha Trion, of course, was like a blank wall, and he never lost his cold, emotionless glare, which I couldn't interpret. I am truly sorry, he said once we were outside. I will look into this further, when I have time. You should have told me about it last Orn. I know, Perceptor said. I'm so sorry. I was worried, but I didn't realize just how serious it was. I should have said something. Well, it's not the first time something like this has happened. I must return to the council hall. Of course, Perceptor said. Alpha Trion walked away, leaving us standing outside of the detention center. Cable Reach felt numb, lost. I wasn't sure how I felt. Searchlight had done stupid, dangerous things his whole life. 5 Thorns was a long time in which to do stupid, dangerous things. We had joked about him getting himself killed, but we hadn't meant it. We hadn't thought it would happen. We hadn't thought it was possible. Primus. Cable Reach said. There was no legality to that, Perceptor said. By our laws, you can't execute anyone without a trial. Perhaps Alpha Trion can do something, but they're so good at covering their tracks. I suspect they already have a false set of records in the system. Cable Reach shook his helm. Justice is a thing of the past, Perceptor said sadly. I'm so sorry I didn't take this more seriously. It isn't your fault, Cable Reach vented in deeply, suddenly feeling angry. We can't let the council get away with this sort of thing. Perceptor looked up at him. No, he said. There's nothing you can do. Please, Cable Reach, don't put yourself in danger. If you recall, we aren't even supposed to know he was arrested. If they find out you know, they'll want to know how. They'll investigate you and the guards at the council hall and your students. He looked at me. He's right. I'd be putting Soundwave in danger. Cable Reach sighed. I still can't believe this. Let's go home. We would have to tell Searchlight's creators. We'd have to tell Breeze and Ratchet. I would have to tell Breeze and Ratchet. We couldn't go back without Searchlight. Let me know if there's anything I can do, Perceptor said. Cable Reach nodded, and he and I went one way while Perceptor went the other. He told me he knew I could save him. I didn't want to go back to the school, but I followed Cable Reach toward the ground bridge station. Shouldn't we go on the mass transit? I asked. It's cheaper. My words felt hollow, empty, strange, like it was someone else saying them. Cable Reach hesitated. If you want to. I nodded. So we got tickets for that instead, and I had drawers to listen to the mechs around me think about their own lives and their own troubles. I wished Cable Reach would go away and stop thinking about Searchlight. He turned to me as we finally pulled into the station in Collis. Soundwave. I didn't move. I'll talk to Grey Charter and Com. Searchlight's creators. Would you like me to tell Ratchet and Breeze too? I shook my helm. Would you like to tell them then? I didn't move. No, I did not want to tell them. The more Mecha who knew, the more real this was. But I had an obligation to do so. I had failed. This was my responsibility. Searchlight had trusted me to get him out. I knew it wasn't my fault, but I should have been able to prevent it. I'll let you think about it, Cable Reach said. But if you don't want to, then let me know and I'll do it, alright. I don't know what to say. We walked to the school. Classes were done by that time, so I knew I'd find Breeze and Ratchet in Searchlight's room with my symbiotes. I walked slowly, trying to decide how I was going to word this, and disgusted with myself because I cared about the wording. And I hated myself for being the one to tell them, as little sense as that made. I got to the room and stood outside the closed door, listening. Breeze was doodling on her datapad, sketching Frenzy while he watched eagerly from a position on her shoulder. In the sketch, he was staring out of the page, helm tilted to the side, and with a deeply perplexed look on his faceplate. Ratchet was sitting with Ravage in his lap, studying and worrying. Can you draw Rumble too? Frenzy asked. I can draw him next if you want. Could you draw both of us on the same picture? I could do that. And Ravage and Laserbeak too. Sure. And Soundwave. Him too. I could draw all of you sitting on him. Could you put Ratchet and Searchlight and you in too? And Searchlight's creators and Cable Reach. That's getting a little crowded, Breeze said. Can you even draw you? You can't see yourself. I can see myself in a mirror. And I can see pictures of myself, Breeze said. So I can draw myself. Here, what do you think? She held up the finished sketch. Does it look like me? Haven't you ever looked in a mirror, silly? Of course it looks like you. It looks exactly like you. I put the code in to unlock the door. I had to do it eventually. Everyone in the room looked up at me. No luck. Ratchet asked, noticing I didn't have Searchlight with me. I stood, silent, in the doorway. Soundwave? Bree said, suddenly worried. What is it? Is Searchlight okay? Oh, Primus, tell me he's alright. He's dead, I said. Curse that stutter, why did it have to come back now? What? Ratchet said. Breeze just stared. What? Frenzy echoed. We would have gotten him out, but we are too late. I told them. No, Bree stood. He can't be joking, can he? No. I'm so worried, I whispered and turned to walk away. I wanted to be anywhere, but here right now, listening to them realize Searchlight was gone. Wait. Bree said. Soundwave, are you really? He's dead, I said again. Flat, emotionless. No stutter. Dead. Searchlight was dead. I felt Breeze crumble inside. I heard Ratchet freeze helpless, silent, unbelieving. I turned and walked away to my room, where I could lock the door and sit on my berth alone. No one came to talk to me. They knew better. The next dawn dawned. I did not want to get off my berth, but I had to make sure my symbiotes were all right. I'd left them in Searchlight's room with Ratchet. I got up and went there. Ratchet was still at his desk, curled up and recharging with Ravage draped over him, humming protectively. He looked up as I came in. Soundwave? Frenzy shouted. Hush, I said, but it was too late. Ratchet came online and sat up. I gathered up Rumble and Frenzy, and Laserbeak flew over and clung to my back. Soundwave? Ratchet said. I didn't answer him, just left. Ravage leapt off of Ratchet and bounded after me. Ratchet realized that we had 6 screams before classes started and panicked for a moment, then remembered why he was curled up in his chair and not on his berth. I walked out of range of him. I left my symbiotes in my room. School was the last thing I wanted to deal with right now, but I also didn't want to sit with my own thoughts all alone, so I got up and dragged myself to class, coming in just before the late bell rang and sitting in the very back of the room. I usually tried to sit near the front so I could hear the teacher's thoughts. Everyone, she said. There's going to be an assembly this morning, before classes. The students around me were confused. The teacher looked at me, and I didn't need to read her processor to know what the assembly was about. The class stood and joined the rest of the school headed toward the auditorium. I found Ratchet and went to sit by him. We saved a spot for Breeze, but she didn't show up. The headmaster was up on the stage, talking quietly to an official, looking like I hadn't seen before. Do you think this is about? Ratchet said. I nodded. I can't believe this, Ratchet said. 6 horns ago we were here. We were here with Searchlight watching everyone's presentations. Primus, he's gone, Ratchet put his helm in his arms. They'd gone to ask Kibble Reach for more details after I locked myself in my room, so he knew what had happened. I watched the mechs at the front of the room, wondering vaguely how the school was going to react to this. The news that he'd got into a shouting match with a senator had gone around the school. No one had been very surprised, though there had been a good deal of worry over the fact that no one had seen him since then. When everyone was gathered and seated, the headmaster got up. He stood, waiting for quiet perhaps, but he didn't call the room to order. Eventually, we all stopped talking. There was an unconscious tension in the atmosphere. Everyone, the headmaster said. There is some unfortunate news I have to share with you this morning. A low swell of whispers filled the room, then died out when the headmaster raised a hand. One of your fellow students has been offline in a terrible accident. An accident? Who? Someone up near the front demanded, but many of the mech in my range had guessed. Searchlight. Another, slightly angry whisper swelled through the crowd and died out as everyone realized the implications of that. I know he was well known and well liked, the headmaster said. I hope all of you will comfort each other as we mourn his passing. Ratchet took in a deep shaky vent of atmosphere and shuddered his optics. An accident? That's too much of a coincidence. What kind of accident? Please also be very considerate to his closer friends. If any of you need someone to talk to, the teachers and counselors are always willing to listen. Searchlight had been going to throw a party at the end of the term and invite the whole school. Everyone had already been looking forward to it. They'd been excited about it. It's a great tragedy, the headmaster said solemnly and deliberately, and maybe even with a bit of anger in his voice. That someone so full of life and bright of spark should have been offline in such a way. I encourage all of you to remember him and continue to function in his absence. It is only natural for us to mourn. But the atmosphere in the room was mixed with fear, now as well. They had heard of the government making Mecha disappear, but none of them, at least none in my range, had actually witnessed it happen before. The headmaster shook his helm as if not sure what to say. The room was so silent you could have heard a bolt drop in the back if you'd been right in front of the stage. The official-looking mech came up by the headmaster. This probably comes as somewhat of a shock to you all, he said calmly. And we are terribly sorry for your loss. At this tragic time, he trailed off, frowning into the audience. A student was standing. Everyone's been stilled as Shockwave spoke. Can you tell us the details of the accident? He asked. The official nodded. He crashed in alt mode. Unusual, but it does happen sometimes, and it can be fatal for flyers. I was there, Shockwave said. Wheeljack, sitting next to him, looked to be on the brink of grabbing him and pulling him back down. You were. The official said. You witnessed this. I just want to know where we stand, Shockwave said. If I don't sit down and keep my lip plate shut, will there be another accident? The official's faceplate didn't change at all. Accidents are unpredictable, he said. They can happen to anyone. Shockwave nodded, and let Wheeljack drag him back into his seat. For the rest of the assembly, adults talked about how tragic it was that Searchlight was dead, and how we should all remember him and help each other grieve. It didn't last that long, and then we were sent back to our classes. Cable Reach was waiting for us at the door and pulled us aside. The headmaster wants to talk to you too, he said. And do you know where Breeze is? Probably in her room, Ratchet said. Would you go get her and take her with you to the headmaster's office? Will that government idiot be there? Ratchet said, because I might just try to kill him. No, Cable Reach said. He will not. It'll just be Grey Charter. All right, Ratchet said. Come on, let's go get Breeze. I let Ratchet lead the way to Breeze's room. She was sitting with her helm on the desk, staring at nothing, thinking about painting, and wishing she was dead. She looked up when Ratchet requested entry, and then very nearly decided not to open the door. But after a few Ostroskins, she got up slowly and pushed away from her desk to come over and let us in. Hi Ratchet, Soundwave, she said quietly. The headmaster apparently wants to talk to us, Ratchet said. I don't want to talk to anyone. Okay. I just feel awful. I don't even know if I'm mourning for Searchlight or if I just feel awful. Primus, Searchlight. She crossed her arms and took a few deep vents, then followed us out of the room, throwing drooping and optics down. We walked to the headmaster's office together. He was waiting for us. He was worried about us. How are you three holding up? He asked. Oh dear, that was a bad question. Bree shuddered, then buried her faceplate in her hands. Ratchet glared at the headmaster, then nearly broke as well. I hesitated, then very carefully put an arm around Breeze's shoulders. She leaned into me and sobbed on my shoulder. I am so sorry, the headmaster said. For all of this. I don't really know what to tell them. I'm sure you don't want to think about finals right now. I wouldn't either. I'm going to make an exception for you three in that regard. You can take your finals when you're ready up to the beginning of next term. I can make arrangements for you to go home or you can continue to stay here. Think about it and let me know, all right. Ratchet nodded for all three of us. Is there anything we can do for you? I don't think so, Ratchet said. All right, the headmaster said. Again, I'm so sorry. We left his office again. Breeze broke off to go to her room. I was a little worried about her and I knew Searchlight would want me to make sure she was all right, so I went back to my room for my symbiotes. Rumble, Frenzy, I said. Yes. Rumble asked quietly. Can you do something for me? Frenzy nodded, and Rumble crossed his arms. I'd like you two to keep Breeze company for now. Breeze. Frenzy said. I took in a deep vent. She's really sad about Searchlight. I want you to keep her company. She show old NTBL one right now. Okay, Frenzy said. I picked them up and Laserbeak flew over and clung to my back. Ravage followed us, feeling gloomy. We walked to Breeze's room and I requested entry. Breeze made herself stop crying before she opened the door. I didn't talk, just let the twins down and walked away again. Breeze was a little confused, but I knew she didn't really want to be by herself, and they would take care of her. I dropped Ravage off at Ratchet's room as well, and then headed toward the stairs so I could go down to the first floor. I hope you know you are not leaving me somewhere, Laserbeak thought. I didn't answer her, just kept walking. I left the school. I didn't want other mecha right now. I wanted to be alone. If Laserbeak wasn't going to leave, that was all right, but I needed silence. I went to Crescent's house. She wasn't there. She was away on a trip of some sort, so I was well and truly alone. I locked myself in my room and with no one for a witness, I wept. And I waited for someone to tell me it was all a dream, and they'd found Searchlight and that he was all right. But the longer I waited, the more certain I was that that wasn't going to happen and that no matter how hard I begged Primus for another chance, Searchlight wasn't coming back.